Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about intervals and how we can work them out by ear. So what is an interval first? An interval is the distance between two notes. In the exam, you could get asked to identify an interval by ear in a question like the one you can see on the screen, where you were given options. And you will also get asked to recognise different intervals through a question on melodic dictation where you need to write down part of a melody that you hear. So recognising different intervals. Intervals come in numbers, for example, a third, fourth octave or a fifth. For example, a third would be C to E because they are three notes apart. They can also come in major, minor, perfect, augmented, or diminished form, but the most common are major, minor, and perfect. So, for example, you can get a major third, which should be C to E, and a minor third, which is where we're going to remove one semitone and flatten that third note. So that would take us to E flat rather than E. So a major third would be E, a minor third would be E flat. So now we're going to talk about how to work out a melodic interval. There are many different ways to work out a melodic interval by ear. My favourite way is to sound out the notes in between the two that you hear in your head. Okay, so for the purpose of this video, I'm going to sing out loud. Here is the first example of two notes we need to work out the interval between. Okay. Ba, ba. I now need to count the notes in between to help me work out the distance between those two notes. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, so there are ba, 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 ba. Okay, there are two notes in between, which tells me that we're going from the first note to the fourth note. So that tells me that interval I heard was a perfect fourth. Another way I can remember that is by recognising a song that starts with a perfect fourth. Now, there aren't any specific songs that have to be used to work out a perfect fourth, for example, but the one that I like to use is Away in a Manger. The first two notes of Away in a Manger are the distance of a perfect fourth. For example, away in a manger, away, away, ba 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 ba. It's the distance of a perfect fourth. So let's try another one. Ba, ba. So I can already tell that this distance between these two notes that we've just heard is quite wide because we're going from sort of medium register note to quite high pitch. Ba, 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 ba. Okay. Ba. Let's try and sound it out. Ba, 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 ba. Okay, so there are loads of notes in between there. So that tells me what I've heard is, count with me, ba, 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 ba. So we had our first note, then we went up 7 to the octave. So that tells me that that was an interval of an octave. Now, a song that I like to use to help me recognise the interval of an octave is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Somewhere over the rainbow. The distance between some and where is an octave. So now we're going to try one more before I'll leave you to do the rest in an attached Google form. Okay, so it's getting faster now. Bum bum. Oh. Bum bum. Bum bum. Let's try and sound out the notes in between. Bum bum. Bum bum. Bum bum. Okay, so I'm finding it difficult to sound the notes in between, which tells me that there might not be any notes for me to sound out in between those two notes, which tells me it could be a narrow interval. So I'm going to go back and listen to it again. Bum bum. Da da. Da da da. Ba da. Ba 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 ba. Da da. Okay, so again, narrow interval. If I were to go back to the first note, ba 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 ba. Go back one more time because I'm starting to forget those notes. Ba ba. Now I can tell that that is a second, an interval of a second. Now the easiest way to work that one out, because there were no notes in between, is to remember that a major second is the interval between happy and birthday in that famous song, Happy Birthday. Happy birth. That distance between P and birth is a major second. So let's rewind. Ba ba, happy birth, happy birthday, happy birth. So that tells me the interval we just heard was a major second.